everybody. Welcome to another What a Hell of a Way to Dad. It's Francis and Nate. Your two dads are back at it. It's November 11th. Happy Veterans Day. Nate, we're veterans. It's our day. It's also the 8-year anniversary of the podcast. Also, on this day, 8 years ago, Trump was elected, and I said, you know what? People should listen to me talk for an hour a week indefinitely for the rest of my life. There we go. We're still doing it. How you doing, Nate?
I'm okay, man. You know, I'll be honest with you. It's been so insanely busy that I actually forgot to check the election news until I'd probably been up for 20 minutes. And I also forgot it was Veterans Day because it's not obviously a holiday here. And so I only noticed it when there were some things I was waiting on to go through for regular business transactions to clear from the US, and they didn't. And I was like, oh yeah, because the stock market's closed, because banks are closed, because it's Veterans Day. And then people have texted me and I need to respond, but it's just sort of it's been such a busy day for me. And you asked me before we started what I'm vaping. I'm vaping a Lost Mary BM 6000 Pineapple Ice. These are disposable vapes you can get in well, you can't get them in the EU anymore, but you can get them in Switzerland and you can get them in Britain until Keir Starmer bans them. But it's a self-contained little vape thing with a USB-C port and a little OLED screen that tells you the battery life, and it's rechargeable. And it has
got more technology in it than the rocket ships that took men to the moon.
It does, and it basically hits pretty hard according to Joe, because he covets these things, but he can't get them in the Netherlands because they banned flavored vapes there. I think they banned them in all of the EU, and so yeah, it's 6,000 because it's got 6,000 puffs in this enormous reservoir. They honestly, these things whip. And the one thing I will say about Switzerland that I appreciate is that for one, you can get flavored vapes, but also they actually take the recycling part seriously. So if you take them to a vape shop and recycle them, they recycle the battery and the kind of dangerous components and the plastic and stuff. They probably don't recycle all the plastic because frankly, Switzerland doesn't recycle a ton of plastic, but they're pretty open about what they do and don't do.
Yeah, nobody recycles a ton of plastic. It turns out that most plastic can't be recycled, but the lithium is good to dig out. You should be doing that in our future Mad Max world. All of the man with the millions of vapes shall be king.
So basically, Britain will have an economic renaissance someday when
one day it's going to be built on vapes and empty NOS canisters.
Yeah. Well, the NOS, they banned the little ones, and so now you have to buy balloons from the corner shop because the guy has a big canister of NOS. But every now and again, I would actually just see big discarded canisters of NOS in the street.
I was going to say, that's such a weird drug. I did whippets, I guess, when I was a teenager.
Yeah, working in fast food.
Yeah, it was one of those okay, that was fun for 30 seconds. I feel dumb for 30 minutes. I don't understand. I don't know. Look, I can't talk. Certainly my addictions have always been alcohol and nicotine anyway, but it seems like a silly drug to do because it's just kind of a very quick hit and then it's done.
Yeah, man. I mean, Britain is strange. I remember people doing whippets when I was, when I worked at Steak and Shake. We were getting yelled at by my manager for doing whippets. I was 20 and I was an idiot. I didn't expect it to be such a ubiquitous thing, but yeah, people love doing it. But I mean, Britain's just got such a different drug culture. I don't see.
And you were doing the whipped cream whippets though, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. For the kids out there, not that I'm trying to teach you all how to do drugs, but the spray ready whipped cream that you turn upside down, you hit the nozzle and sprays whipped cream out. It has nitrous in it. So if you just let it sit with the nozzle up, you can put your mouth over it and hit the nozzle and only nitrous will come up. And so that's how the scumbags like us used to do whippets. It seems Britain has moved beyond that to the guy will sell you a balloon behind the counter of the bodega.
Well, people would basically bring balloons and the canisters to the park and do balloons like this. You'd see discarded balloons and discarded cans and joint stems and stuff. This is just, it's pretty common. We would do it at Steak and Shake when you finished whipped cream cans and you still had nitrous in it, but you didn't have any whipped cream left. So before you had to kind of drain, you're supposed to drain it, before you recycled it. Well, not that they probably were recycling in Bloomington, Indiana, but I mean, to be fair, they probably were actually, because Monroe County was pretty good about it. But
and it's an aluminum can.
Aluminum's pretty recyclable. Aluminum next to paperboard, aluminum is pretty recyclable. So
yeah, you know that aluminum is good recycling because they pay you for it. Not much, but you get money for it.
Yeah. So in Switzerland, I think I've told you before on the show that you basically have these eco points where you can go and recycle, and your building typically only ours does compost, trash, and paper. But because we live in a big complex where the ground floor and basements are part of a big mall, which sounds like hell, but it's actually awesome because it's really convenient because there's 3 different grocery stores in the mall. It's just a different kind of mall than.
So you're not living up top of a hot topic. You don't have Jenko jeans and Invader Zim t-shirts on demand.
No, but it's sort of the best way I could describe it is in terms of what's practical. typical. The best comparison is imagine like a much more diverse offering version of living on top of like a combined commissary and PX.
All right.
You got the PX for all your household goods needs. You got the commissary for all your food needs. And then you got all the other little shops. You know, there was a mobile phone shop. I got a contract. Once I got my permit, I was able to get my Swiss cell phone contract there. There's an optician. There's a pharmacist. There's a couple of like East Asian and North African like spice and food shops. So I'm going to have to hit those soon and get some stuff. There's an Aldi. There's a Denner. There's a Migros, which are all like, Aldi is international, but Migros and Denner are like Swiss grocery store chains. So
starting to think that Costco should start putting apartments on top of all the warehouses. It'd be nice. Just like every day I can always go get a $1.50 hot dog and soda lunch, you know, just walk downstairs, hit the Costco up.
Yeah, man. I mean, I will say it would be funny if that's sort of America's housing solution is that Costco starts building like Costco-lopolis or whatever.
If anybody was going to do it, I'd want it to be Costco, because they at least look, there is no good business, no ethical consumption of capitalism. Yes. But if there is going to be a big box warehouse that isn't run by complete assholes, I think Costco is the closest we get, because they still sell $5 rotisserie chickens. So,
well, Costco is famously like they've been run by people who are really into the idea that workers should get a fair wage and that like should enjoy where they work.
Right. There are sometimes people that run businesses and understand that you actually do good business if the people who work for you aren't being crushed underfoot.
But similarly, like I think it's the same story with stuff like Arizona Iced Tea and H-E-B, the grocery store in Texas that was paying like $21 an hour like long before COVID. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not saying that they're, you know, the genteel kind billionaires.
Because like I'll tell you, I've always had a good experience inside of Costco. Like it's busy, sure, and there's always a lot of people, but I never feel like super cramped, and I've never come across somebody who is like super rude, like the people who work there. And of course, everybody's Costco may vary, but you know, I like it. They've always got some new stuff going on. You can go there. We have an optometrist in ours. The CEO has threatened to kill somebody if they ever raise the hot dog prices. We have the tobacco cage. Some of them have like, they sell cigarettes, but it's like this big cage with chain link fence around it that you have to go up to a window and like order your carton of cigarettes from it. And I don't smoke anymore, but I appreciate that there are Costco cigarettes out there.
It would be funny if they did it like the non-halal section of grocery stores in the Emirates, where it's like you basically have to go through like a automatic door that's got like, you know, opaque or translucent treatment on the window so people can't even see inside. And it's like, this is the non-Muslim zone. You're allowed, if you're not Muslim, you can come in here and you can buy alcohol and cigarettes are fine, but alcohol and pork, but it's all kept behind like in, you know.
Yeah, like a video store in the 90s. You know, you got to go through the beaded curtain to get all the X-rated stuff.
Yeah, go behind the beaded curtain, and that's where we have all the Vim vendors and, you know, Federico Fellini movies and stuff. All the cinephile stuff. It just sounds like a perverted word, so they put it all behind curtains. I was going to say, yeah, like, I don't want to sound like, oh, wow, my life is so hard because I was so disconnected from the news. It's more like we got possession of our new place on Thursday, the 31st of October, and we had to be out of the temporary place on Monday night, so Monday the 4th. I mean, technically, I think we were renting it through the 5th, but like there wasn't any convenient way to make that work. And during that time, we also had a couple of furniture deliveries scheduled for things that we had bought for the place. Monday was really kind of like one of those days where I'm glad I went to Ranger School, I guess. And that's going to sound stupid, but like, put it this way. I woke up here at the house, at the apartment, handled getting an IKEA delivery, handled getting, you know, helping Cynthia with our daughter and breakfast and stuff. As soon as I could, left, went to the old place, cleaned everything, packed the stuff that still needed to be packed, did the laundry, cleaned the bedclothes, you know, took it to a laundromat, bought a vacuum cleaner, vacuumed it, organized a van guy to come pick it up, had everything picked up, came back after I closed out with the landlord, went home and immediately went in and ate. Basically, Cynthia got me Burger King and then ate that and then went straight into building an IKEA bed. And I had to build the whole bed so we had a place to sleep, because at a certain point, it's like there wasn't going to be room in here if it was halfway built for our mattresses as well as the bed frame. So got it built. At one point, my hand was bleeding because my cuticles just started bleeding. Like I can cut myself. It just happened.
Yeah, I get that occasionally.
This is sort of like, it's like your body saying, hey man, maybe you should straighten your shit out a little.
Maybe moisturize a bit.
Yeah. And gloves. So that was my Monday. And then Tuesday, oh gosh, I want to say, I'm pretty sure I recorded with Lions that day, and there was all sorts of stuff happening. And then, I woke up on Wednesday and I was like, oh yeah, the election was in America. And then I looked and I was like, and I told Cynthia, I was like, hey, I think Trump won. And then as the day went on, because we're, 6 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time, it just got to be more and more obvious that it was a very bad situation. And I think Cynthia and I were just sort of like, well,
that's a them problem, not an us problem anymore.
Well, no, it's more like I feel bad. I feel like a kind of almost survivor's guilt, but also there's a part of me in the very practical sense is like, I'm not a citizen of Switzerland. I don't even have permanent residency. I have a 1-year visa tied to my wife's employment. So like everything we do has to be kind of now oriented around the fact that if we want to stay here, we got to make sure that we cross all of our T's and dot our I's. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that we're going to get wrapped up in a fucking anti-migrant fervor, but like they've got a pretty strict immigration system.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so
they will deport your ass back to Trump land.
Well, or back to Britain.
Ooh, that'd be even worse, I think.
I mean, honestly, man, I don't know. I really don't know because I haven't been back to America in so long. Like, I will say that there was the thing that was like really so often cited as the kind of animating impulse behind a lot of Trump voters. I was pretty shocked when I came back to America in 2022 and 2023 to see how much it felt like it was just like total, like pulling your leg bullshitting levels of doubling or tripling prices of everything. Because it was bad in Britain, but it was so much worse in America, to include Bedford, Indiana, where my parents were living at the time. Like the grocery stores were like more expensive than I remembered New York groceries being in Bedford, which used to be insanely cheap. They really, and the problem is that was not necessarily a problem with the economy. That was corporations realizing that they could jack the prices up because what other choice do we have? And then they'll say, well, it's due to pandemic or anything. Like we know that happened. I don't want to rehash Harris and Trump and everything. What's done is done. I woke up and read the news and then disassociated from everything and logged off of Twitter. And I still have Twitter, but I'm much more active over on Blue Sky now, just because it hasn't been overrun. Missouri passed a thing to raise the minimum wage and also voted for Trump,
and voted for to keep abortion legal too. But of course, we have a Republican. Look, Missouri has quite a history like this, where the people who are in charge don't necessarily represent the people who live here. And I don't know how this happens, but back during the Civil War, this happened as well, because Missouri was never a Confederate state, but we are one of the stars on the Stars and Bars, because the people who ran the state wanted to be Confederate, but the people who lived in the state were like, fuck that, we're pro-Union, mostly because, Missouri at the time had the wilderness at our back door, to the west. So it's like, no, we don't trust you jackasses to keep us safe. We need some kind of federal, oversight here. So it's not a unheard of kind of thing. And I also, there's a lot of people who just like, well, Missouri is red. It's always been red. And it's not. It hasn't. We were a purple state for a long time. We used to have a Republican and a Democrat senator, for the longest time. So the problem is every 4 years when the presidential election comes around, everybody has forgotten anything that's 5 years or older. Like everybody took massive brain damage and they're like, well, last year, here's what it was. So that's what we can expect going forward. So yeah, Missouri will go hard for Trump, but also we have rejected right to work like dozens of times at this point. We're always voting down right to work and always voting for, for pay bumps and stuff. Now, of course, our Republicans are trying to put a stop on all of that, but by will of the voter, yes, we that's how we go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like I said, I got the impression that things weren't going so great, but I would be lying if I said that I was paying really close attention. And I think the thing for me is I saw this happen in Britain where like people think, oh, Britain's an outlier, but they're not, because for one, the Labour Party under Starmer is pretty right wing. Like in the British context, it's extremely right wing. It's that like there and the idea that there's sort of like sacred tenets that they wouldn't compromise on. There's none. Like if they thought it was politically palatable to let abortion get criminalized in Britain, they'd do it. Like they don't have any principles at all. It's just that the reason why they won and then suddenly became less popular than the Tories was that like incumbent parties are losing all over the place because of inflation and because of COVID and all this stuff. And so it's like, yeah, we don't need to rehash the election, but I guess in a way that part didn't surprise me. It's just that unfortunately in America, that means the sort of like reject the incumbent, bring in, the opposition means Trump and all of the weird freaks and grifters that come along. But I don't know, like I was really, really hesitant to say anything. I was really circumspect for at least like a day or so, because at the end of the day, I live in Switzerland and I was joking about the internet, because I have my insane internet now. One of the problems that I may have described to you is that using server equipment, the fans are loud. I need to get a case and probably put some kind of damping material in it, like a case that closes, because it's server equipment, like it's not super expensive, but it's not home equipment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we got a loud ass white noise generator in the living room now. Another problem that's very funny is the wall is, look, they build houses better here than they do in Britain, and I think they build houses to a very high standard here. The walls are thicker than fuck, and so I got a good Zixel is a German company that makes a Wi-Fi 7 access point, and I got it. It's power over Ethernet powered. It takes 10 gigabit Ethernet, and for not very many Wi-Fi 7 devices out, but like if you get one, you can get I want to say like 8 or 9 megabit or gigabit Wi-Fi connections. Amazing. Problem is, when you were in this bedroom with the door closed, when it was in the living room, you got no signal at all. It's just the walls are too thick. So I had to rig up a thing to put it in kind of the center of the apartment, and it's working fine now. Like this connection would not have been possible a couple days ago. So that was like one of my weekend DIY tasks. And then just like finishing up IKEA furniture, breaking down tons of boxes, bringing them down to recycle them, and like I've just been so busy that if I had wanted to sit around and, brood about what had happened, there would have just been all this stuff piling up. Also, I was so exhausted. I overslept on Saturday and slept through an attempted IKEA delivery. So I have to get it redelivered Wednesday. It's just been seeing the stuff in the news. I think what's interesting to me is like, obviously I look at stuff on Blue Sky and Twitter and Instagram. And I guess one of the things that's so surprising is that like, I see so much of what I would describe as like the exact same reactions from so many people as 2016. And you said that everyone brain dumps 4 years. Like, well, yeah, but brother, 8 years ago, it's even wilder how much people are forgetting. I don't know about you, but obviously a lot's changed in my life. Like you guys had your daughter, I think, before Trump had got elected. Yeah. But for me, at least, it's like, I think because I don't live in America, but also because so much is going on in my life that's just keeping me busy. Like I am obviously like disgusted and, worried and infuriated, but also I remember how I was in 2016, 2017 and just always being on the damn phone, fucking yelling at people online and being a dick. And like, what did that actually accomplish?
Not a damn thing.
Not a goddamn thing. I mean, it got me on a bunch of podcasts and now I do this for a living, but like, I'm just reminded that there's the kind of like strategic approach to what you can actually make a difference with. And I guess I don't have the energy to be able to react that way. And I think that even if I wanted to be, like, because I'm so far away, it would be so disingenuous. That's the weird thing, right? Like nothing changed here. No one even brought it up with me. Like people know I'm American. And I speak French. No one brought it up with me. Like it's like, oh yeah, Trump won. Fuck, shit, geez, America, what the fuck? And then it's just like, all right, cool. What local news are we mad about?
Oh, America's got its head up its ass again. How?
Never heard about that happening before.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like it is difficult to have the same rage. And I got to say, all the resist grifters are now crawling back out of the woodwork. I saw Mueller, she wrote, suddenly come out too, and it's like, I don't think anybody's got the energy for this anymore. Or if they do, it's not going to be posting, because I know that a lot of people are leaving Twitter, and I haven't made the full like severing the ties myself yet, but I definitely feel that coming. And I just, like you said, that rage, and then funneling the rage into posting and always being online and always making myself angry by constantly looking at all these things. And even the run up to this election that was happening, I was just constantly being bombarded on Twitter with just like the worst shit, not even Republican stuff. Just, I don't know how many times you've got to retweet dead bodies into my timeline for me to finally say, look, I get it, but you got to stop doing this to me and to yourself. You got to stop. You're not helping.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that kills me about that is that I understand why people do it, but I also feel like there's an extent to which it's very unfortunate and it's horrifying to witness. And I feel like the position of our podcast is that we are unanimous that we believe the ICC that Israel's committing a genocide. But watching this happen is that if sharing these en masse, the really, really horrific scenes, if that was going to make an impact on policy, I think it would have by now. I do think there's some people like, but even, when people aren't paying attention to these things like news and NGOs and like international reporting agencies and things like that, they have pretty stringent guidelines of what they tell people to do or not do about it, because like it'll destroy you psychologically, or worse, you'll just become so inured to it that it won't even register with you anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think those are both bad things.
I'm not saying that you should ignore anything. I'm just saying that you don't have to bear witness constantly.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it is that you don't have to watch every one of them. You probably should turn autoplay off on videos, things along those lines. Like, that's how I felt about all of the stuff that was coming out of the Afghanistan war post, getting out of the military. That's how I felt about the stuff with ISIS. That's how I felt about stuff with Ukraine. There's an extent to which that stuff is going to negatively affect you. Like, I guess the way I would say it is like, it's a position of privilege, obviously, to not be affected by it. But like, I don't think that you should abandon the outrage or the empathy or the concern or the impulse to organize or to go to protests or to raise money. But we are governed by people who look at this and think either it's a good thing or that it's an unfortunate thing, but it just sort of has to happen. Like, and when you get down to it, like, so many of our kind of like contemporary national myths and identity conceptions of America are based on things like, think about how much we trumpet how great it was that we fucking won World War II. And it's like, yeah, the Nazis were bad, and so were the Japanese, and so were the Axis was bad. They deserved to be crushed. But Curtis LeMay said that he was well aware that if they had the tides turned and America lost the war, everyone in Strategic Air Command would have been tried and executed as war criminals for what they did to the Japanese. Mm. Because they firebombed hundreds of the millions of people they killed. Mm-hmm. And, never mind how many civilians they killed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like, so you look at this stuff and it's like, we have done this and we've done it in the past and we've always looked the other way. And by we, I mean the people who run America, the government, elected officials. And there are things that can apply pressure. Like, you'll see things happening where, for example, like activists have done so much work to disrupt Israeli arms manufacturers in Britain that some of them have closed because they're going to lose too much money. They can't do R&D on their new like fucking kindergartner targeting missile because their clean rooms keep getting broken into and destroyed. Things like that. I mean, like, not everyone can be the person who does civil disobedience and risks prison time for doing this. But like, there are things that can be done in every walk of life, in every kind of echelon or ability to contribute, even if it's just giving small amounts of money. That things that can be done that will be effective or at least have some impact. But like, even the people who are putting their literal bodies on the line for it, I would imagine that given the choice between doing that and giving yourself psychological damage by feeling obligated to watch some of the worst things that a human being can see, I don't really think that's I mean, if you're looking at it in effectiveness, I don't think that's contributing much. And in terms of like honoring the victims of it, I don't really think that's honoring them either.
No. Giving yourself PTSD is not a winning strategy for anybody. I mean, I think the thing about it is that like, there are a lot of really, really thankless things and really difficult things. When you talk about boycott, divestment, and sanctions, like, it's not just one fell swoop. It's lots of little actions to get people to divest and to stop investing in, like, anyone who has a 401k is probably invested in an Israeli arms company because it's so tied in, or an Israeli mining company, or any of these things that operate abroad. Like, there are so many of these things, and like, at the end of the day, the entirety of the Israeli economy is built around sustaining the thing that is destroy, basically, sort of trying to wipe an entire ethnicity off the map. So like, there isn't really, I mean, talk about no ethical consumption or capitalism. There's no ethical investment in the Israeli economy. I gotta be real with you. Yeah. But every single thing, even if it's just like, we shouldn't, given the funds that we have at our discretion, we should stop supporting specifically things that, for example, like use forced labor or use labor from the occupied territories, or things that are explicitly in the arms industry. You'll still get insane amounts of pushback. It's still a thankless fight. Never mind a broader boycott of Israeli cultural institutions, or things that are kind of whitewashing things to sort of normalize this idea that like, oh yeah, finding ways to kind of soft propagandize that Israel's a normal country. Like, I don't think that you're doing yourself any good if you really truly believe it, and that you want to combat this. You're not doing yourself any good being online and just kind of
like exposing yourself to like what I said before, the absolute worst things a human being can see. I mean, you're not there, but it's still, you know, all this anguish and misery captured on video.
Right. And just feeding it directly into your eyes like you're in Clockwork Orange is not, it's not healthy. It's not healthy
well, no,
for
it's
you.
Sort of like, it's like, because I don't know if you, like, anyone who's seen the 90s cult sci-fi hit Event Horizon knows that like everyone was in a really good mood and did good things after unscrambling the video and seeing the portal to hell. You know what I mean? Like, it
was great. Liberate tutte me. Okay.
Yeah. Liberate tutte me ex inferius. Yeah, that means good things are going to happen to me from now on.
Save me, because I've just got so many good things over here.
Exactly.
Save me from the great, wonderful things I have.
When Sam Neill's character said, where we're going, we won't need eyes to see, he meant love will just be all around you at all times. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to be flippant in comparing it to that, but it's just more along the lines of, this is a discussion, a kind of debate that people have had about other conflicts in the sort of post-smartphone ubiquitous video era. And I can recall this same sort of thing with people more for gross out shock value, but also for sort of like, you know, you got to know the true nature of this, talking about things like from the Second Chechen War or from the pre 9/11 invasion of Afghanistan Taliban, or, you know, post 9/11 GWAT stuff, like things like Ogrish and Live Leaks, or things like people sharing files on forums or Usenet of like, you know, the infamous early 2000s psychological destruction video of the Russian conscript getting beheaded with like a buck knife. Like, this horrible, and there's no good reason to watch it. But I mean, I recognize that, like, I have friends who've like devoted their entire lives to protesting and, you know, and like making a point of like doing everything they possibly can to both raise awareness and also, you know, spread solidarity with Palestinians. And like, I gotta be honest with you, I don't know of people I know personally who do this, and I know some people who've literally like faced prison time for civil disobedience. I don't know of anyone who's just like, yeah, you are morally obligated to watch gore videos.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, our generation kind of grew up on that, but Pain Olympics and Faces of Death kind of hit a little bit different than
But Faces of Death is so corny though. Like, it is grim, but like some of it often struck me as being fake, but so much of it is very corny. Like the part where like the narrator just starts singing a song called Faces of Death. Like it's like there's a kind of almost John Waters-y element to it. Like it seems quaint by comparison now, you know, like, and also something too that I would say is that you'll find this happens a lot with stuff on the internet or on social media, like on a platform like Twitter, where, you know, you don't have the kind of like human brain meat machine as the firewall for all the prohibited content the way you do on Instagram or Facebook, by which I mean that like the reason why you don't see, you know, war crimes and beheadings and horrible abuse and horrible car accident videos and stuff on Facebook is because there's an army of underpaid people in places like the Philippines who have to watch it and flag it and delete it. And some of them, they also hire people in America. A friend of the show, Rory Blank, who's done a ton of art for a bunch of different shows that I produce, he was a Facebook content moderator for 3 years.
Ooh.
And he has talked to me about suffering significant psychological damage from it. He was on the animal abuse beat, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Like Adrian Chen, the writer, I think for Wired, wrote a piece about going to the Philippines and meeting people who worked in these jobs. And it was what they experienced. Like, you know, they would have women who are like immediately coming back from work or back from like maternity care, like, or staying home from, you know, watching their child, finally back to work. And they're like, you're going to be a Facebook moderator. We're going to put you on the identifying whether or not it's child pornography beat. And it's like most significant numbers of these women left because they couldn't, not only was it so horrifying to see, but like, after a certain point, it got so psychologically damaging that they were like, I can't bear the thought of leaving someone to watch my child without me around them.
Right.
For good reason. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and so I think the reason I bring this stuff up is because Twitter kind of monetizes the gore and violence and like some of it is reportage, but some of it is just shocker stuff. A lot of times there's just like a lot of disinformation around it. Like that might not be a thing that just happened. It might be a thing that sadly happened, you know, 3 months ago or a year ago, or maybe it happened in Sudan, which, you know, is a war zone people don't talk about, or maybe it's something that like it's a car accident in fucking Colombia or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just, there's no way of vetting it because there's an incentive to lie and share shocking content.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm very proud of that we've managed advantage so far is my daughter has no interest in social media. And my wife and I are backing away from it ourselves. At least, look, I'll post, but I'm not going to hang out here because I don't know what's going to come across. And I did that and I read a whole book in one day. I haven't read a whole book in one day in fucking years, Nate. Years.
What was the book?
It was Bill the Galactic Hero. Have you heard of that book?
No, I haven't.
It is a pulp sci-fi book from 1965, and I picked it up because people like Douglas Adams had really good things to say about it. It's it's not like some it took me a week and a half to read 1984, but this one you breeze through. And I'm not huge on military sci-fi, but this is a book about a guy who gets shanghaied into enlisting in the military. Like the recruiter comes in and basically, like, if he can't convince you, he just puts you under hypnosis and forces you to sign. And just the bureaucracy and the bullshit and how much like stuff that Bill has to go through, and how he's just like, all right, I guess this is what I do now. I'm no longer in the military. Now I do trash hauling down here in the bottom of the city, and now I'm helping with this robot revolution, apparently. It's just kind of he keeps rolling with the punches. And, it's an entertaining book, but it was nice to go cover to cover in one day and not be angry, not be angry, not be worried. And, a lot of what we have here is tied to Twitter, like getting our Patreon up, getting selling things in the store. The many other podcasts that you work on, intrinsically relies on social media in some way, shape, or form. The problem is there's just not a good social media anymore. Like they all are garbage. I can't even go on Facebook anymore without getting inundated with shit that I've never followed and I never want to follow. But I can't like say, hey, I want to block this like weird AI site that is just reposting, soldiers in wheelchairs with 3 legs asking for help. I can snooze it for 30 days, but I can't block it outright and never see it again. Twitter obviously has always been circling the drain, and it's going down even further now. Instagram is owned by Facebook, so that's not doing any better. And it's just, where do you go now? Like I'm doing more TikTok, but again, I'm throwing content up, but I'm not engaging because every time I open up TikTok, it's just like, hey, do you want some horny content? It's all horny content for you.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much we got people. Like we posted we had a bonus episode of Trash Future that they recorded right after the election, and it's doing quite well, I think, in terms of like driving people to subscribe to the Patreon. And so we made a video. My friend did a 3D render of the logo to kind of like make it look a little more polished, and we took a clip and I did a little basic motion graphic animation and put it to, which, man, I really am excited about having my own workspace eventually, because like animating a motion graphic on a MacBook Air with a touchpad, God, it's no fun. I mean, it's just, yeah. But a lot of the comments were like people who clearly didn't watch the video, who were just kind of like trying to be dicks to us. Mm-hmm. And not like the usual, because I mean, you have a podcast, you have any level of success, you're going to have haters, but these are people who have no idea who we are. I was like, this is weirdly combative. I guess I didn't think it was going to be like this right off the bat. I mean, Blue Sky, I will say, can be boring. It tends to skew really like older millennial and younger Gen X, and like like politically and just kind of in terms of affect, I find it pretty annoying. But at least you see like conversations and people are talking to one another. There's an account on Twitter, Lauren, who posts the rotating sandwich videos, and she made a comment about Twitter, like kind of sort of sarcastic, but I think also sort of sincerely, and I agree with her, which is that one of the things about Twitter was that when you saw a popular post, whether it was funny or like a quote dunk, or it was serious, or it was like, something earnest, you could scroll down and you would see people interacting, and you might see interesting conversations. And now you can't, because anything that gets any popularity, you have 10,000 of the dumbest fucking people on the planet who have paid for blue checks, and you have to read all their just meaningless bullshit, and it's just endless meaningless bullshit scrolling over and over and over. It gets like when someone posts like a picture, because Twitter back when it didn't have like dimension limits, and so someone posted like a 20,000 pixel high blank image, and you were just scrolling down endlessly. It's like that, but for like the dumbest or most right-wing morons you've ever encountered, like business success guys and crypto guys and like Indian dads who are racist and all this stuff. And it's just like it's made one of the things that kind of drove having interesting conversations and meeting new people on Twitter. It's made it unusable. Yeah. And Blue Sky, like there's a lot of sort of heckin' spoopy doggo bullshit, and like a lot of people who are sort of shadow boxing with their like sort of Schrodinger's leftist who's always doing the wrong thing. But there are also like a lot of people that I would consider friends or people that I think are interesting on there, and I at least see some interesting conversations. I have not found it to be as difficult as Twitter has become. And like, I don't know, Instagram sort of pivoting to video has been really annoying. There's not a lot of video content I enjoy on there.
I don't like watching videos. I don't like jump cuts.
We're too old for it, man. I'm sorry. Like, we're just too old for it. Like the jump cut, like every time I log in.
My wife loves that shit though. So
every time I log into fucking TikTok to do anything for like posting stuff for Trash Future, it's just immediate jump scare. Because it's loud, and I don't like I have my settings on Instagram, so even if it plays as video, like it's always muted unless I want to unmute it. And like the ethos of TikTok is like, no, this shit's gonna be loud as fuck, and it's gonna startle you.
Yeah, and if you hit back, we're just going to reload your feed, not actually close out of the app. That's one of the because I'll open up the app, I'll be getting yelled at, or there'll be some weird horny content, and I'll hit back, and then it just refreshes and gives me more of the thing. And
because you have a back button because you use Android. Yeah, you're one of those people.
Yeah. I'm one of those people who has a nice flippy phone. Look at this. This is my true millennialness here. Huh? Look at that.
Unfortunately, the Swiss walls made your video slow down right in the moment when I was supposed to be impressed by the flip phone. But I want to say Devin from Kill James Bond has a flip phone, and they were using it at the live shows in August. And I was like, that's less chintzy than I thought it was going to be, but I still wouldn't get one.
It's really, it is fantastic because it gives you the big screen, but you can fold it up small, and it's just like this little square, and it's got a screen on the front, so you can do things on the front if you don't want to open it up and do all your bullshit there. I like it. I'm never going back because I come from the era of I'm getting mad at you on the phone, so I need to close. I need some sort of like finality, some sort of physical finality. I can't hang the phone up in the cradle of my rotary phone anymore, so I have to snap something shut.
They gotta make a entirely made out of screen flip phone that like shoots open like a switchblade, the way that the phone that Neo steals in the Matrix does. You know what I mean?
Well, they used to. Do you remember that brief moment in time when like MySpace had a phone? It was called like don't call it a phone, it's a Healy or something. Now Heelys were the shoes
with the wheels in them, yeah,
which are also coming back. I keep seeing kids wearing those, and I want to hip check them into a wall.
What's interesting here is that this isn't the case in London, but here, I think I talked about this previously, but I'm noticing it more. It's kids, and it's also not kids. People have their own like electric battery powered scooters, like the electric razor scooters, and you'll get on especially the commuter rail. There's a whole section of the Swiss commuter trains that's just like got bike storage, so people who are commuting on the train with their bikes can go, and there's basically no bikes. It's just people with scooters, and I was like, this isn't a big city. Like today I was stuck in traffic because there was like an accident that messed up the buses and trams, and like if I had really like committed to it, I could have just walked home, and it wouldn't have been more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, but you know what, whenever I have to get work done to one of my cars, especially body work, there's a local place, but it's like a mile away, so it's not like so far that it's like, oh, I can't hoof that. But if I can spend $5 and get on a scooter and have the scooter take me there, that is pretty phenomenal. However, also you may die in traffic. So, you've got to take the good with the bad. Luckily, my area is pretty light trafficked, especially where the body shop is, but I do like it. I think it's especially like I don't have a bike and I don't want to get into the necessities of owning a bike maintenance, things like that. Can I just rent a scooter and zip my way over there and dump it off there as well? Like, that's all I'm looking for.
It's funny. I was thinking about this, that like in the olden days in the Midwest, if you got so many DUIs, you lost your license, you had to ride a bike, but now you have these electric scooters. That's probably like created a whole new world for those guys.
I wonder, you don't have to get a license on those the little scooters that have the 49 cubic centimeter and below engines. Like, you don't have to get those licensed. I don't know if you know anything about those, but
I don't. I mean, all I know is like, because I've never messed with them, because Lime in London, to ride the scooters, you had to like validate your ID. And anytime I needed one, I wasn't really in the mood to pull out my wallet and fucking take a picture of my provisional license and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Also, like in London, phone theft is a thing. And so like standing around, like taking pictures of your wallet with your phone is just like, it's like a homing beacon in Grand Theft Auto to have people come and whoop your ass or at least steal your phone. So I never did, but I just rented the Lime bikes, the electric battery assist bikes.
Yeah, well, you can buy like a little motor scooter here, and I'm sure in other places around the country as well, but you'll know them because instead of a license plate on the back, they'll just have a little placard that says 49cc. That means that they don't have to get it licensed. But I do wonder, because you do take those onto the street, you just don't take them onto the highway, but I imagine you can get pulled over for drunk driving one of those tiny scooters, though if you hit anything, you're gonna hurt yourself more than anything
You know,
else.
what's funny is the Lime bike, because it was through an app on your phone, and after like 9 p.m., they made you do a sobriety test. I'm dead serious.
Did you have to blow into the
No,
Lime bike?
it had like a little video game thing popped up, and it's like, you know, press the button when you see the stop sign or the red light or whatever, and like if your reaction times weren't fast enough, it wouldn't let you ride. Tom was always failing them. He was telling me about it. I had it happen to me one time when I was coming back from like, I want to say it was like some medical thing, and I was getting back because the trains were messed up, and I remember like trying to get home. No, it was from one of the Kill James Bond shows, and I was completely sober and was not feeling well, and it was like such an insult to injury thing. It's like I already have to get off on this train station in the middle of fucking nowhere and rent a Lime bike, and now you're like, listen, you alcoholic bastard, you better.
Drunk.
I was doing Andrew Tate voice. Listen, you and your dodgy mates on your Lime bikes chatting shit. Like, yeah, I couldn't deal with it. I will say this is funny. This is kind of an apropos of nothing thing. There aren't anywhere near as many rental app things. The only one I know of in Geneva is a bike rental app that has regular bikes as well as like some electric assist bikes. And I'm not joking. It's called Donkey Republic. Don't know why. Maybe that sounds cool to French people or French speakers.
What is it? What is Donkey Republic in French?
Oh, it's in English.
Oh,
the title's in English.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Donkey in French is on, so it'd be like La République d'Anne, but that's a little goofy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Maybe they're trying to get some of that Donkey Kong kind of runoff there.
Yeah, I don't know what the donkey has to do with it, but they've got like a donkey, like a silhouette of like the animal, you know, as their mascot. So, you know, I guess they're really like, just like me, Joe, and Tom, you know, we're leaning really hard into the donkey imagery.
Yeah.
So, do we have a question from Ask a Dad?
Let me see.
Because otherwise, I was going to ask you.
Go ahead.
If you had anything.
You asked me something. I need to refresh our questions anyway.
You cook anything good recently?
So yesterday, you know, you were talking about all the nonsense that you had to go through with building stuff. We picked up a futon frame at Savers for like $18, I think. So we wanted to get one to kind of, because we still got this big fucking dog. So we're always trying to get like a good dog bed for her. So we picked that up and I had to bring that home. And then yesterday when I brought it home and there were like some pieces missing. So I had to like fabricate some like guideline pieces that, so that you can flatten it out and everything. So I had to create all that. And then because everything is getting dark earlier than it was, I had defrosted a bunch of bacon and a bunch of burger meat. So I had to go out and cook out, because I don't like cooking meat inside because it's a small house and we don't have an exhaust hood. So I cook all of the highly fragrant stuff outside on the grill. And so I made some really good bacon burger and coleslaw. I have a really good basic coleslaw recipe that always works out. And I eat the shit out of it. Like if you drench anything in mayonnaise, my Midwest ass is probably going to eat it. So it's not necessarily like the greatest meal, but like after working really hard on putting that thing together and doing some manufacturing and then being outside in the cold, cooking in the dark, it was a really satisfying meal afterwards.
Yeah, man. I mean, today for me has been like, today was the first day that we have close to full-time childcare because there's a service that the canton provides and it's pretty inaccessible if you don't speak French, but we signed up and we got matched up with a carer and she's perfect. She's great. And hilariously, she's originally from Cape Verde, which is where Cynthia's family's originally like grandparents were from. But today was her first day. So now I have basically 8:30 to 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. childcare, which is amazing because I didn't have that for the longest time. So I am so behind on doing accounts and dealing with invoices and stuff for the last tax year for my business in the UK. So all I did all day was do accounts, find invoices, get stuff reconciled. And then the traffic messed stuff up. I got home late, but I was able to, just before we started, finish cooking this. I learned it as takdoritang in Korean, but it could also be takbokumtang. And it's basically like, it's just spicy chicken stew. Or I mean, it's not quite stew in terms of like being like, because there's more liquidy, but it's really. I'll give you, Francis, the link of the recipe I've used in the past, and you can put it in the show notes. It's genuinely like an equal amount of minced garlic, soy sauce, gochujang, and what's called gochugaru, which is Korean red chili flakes. But you can. I have had I can find gochujang here. Gochugaru I haven't been able to find, so I've talked to people who worked in Korean restaurants and a mixture of cayenne pepper and hot paprika. I'm gonna get some, but they don't sell it in grocery stores here, unfortunately. But yeah, equal amounts of soy sauce, garlic, gochujang, and gochugaru, and then a tablespoon of sugar, and then basically like dark chicken meat. You make what I've just described, those 4 ingredients. You mix it up in a sauce and you marinate it, and then you have minced or chopped onion, peeled chopped potatoes, peeled chopped carrots, and sliced green like serrano chilies. And you basically what the marinade plus water and onions, you just cook it until it's boiling, and then cook it for like 20 minutes, and then you add in the potatoes and carrots, and the peppers, and cook it for 20 minutes more, and then take the cover off and reduce it till it's the thickness you want, and you serve it over rice. I had it with my then girlfriend in a restaurant in Korea, and I was like, this is the best shit I've ever had in my life. And it's so good, and it's not hard at all to make. The hardest part is mincing that much garlic, to get a quarter cup of minced garlic.
You know, I will say my wife made a really great soup. So we have a CSA, which means we end up getting random vegetables twice a month.
Community sourced agriculture, not Confederate States of America.
Not a Confederate. So we're wearing our gray shirts. No, so we got a head of cauliflower, and usually with cauliflower, either I will just roast it. Sometimes we'll do cauliflower wings, where you just roast cauliflower and toss it in whatever buffalo sauce or what have you. Because it's a very flavorless kind of vegetable. But she took that and she pureed it along with potato and some chicken stock, and then various seasonings, and it created this soup that it looks like soup that you would like if you were in a post-apocalyptic world and you were going to get food from a vat. It looks like that, but it's really by itself, it's very boring, but we discovered you just got to throw stuff into it. Like we have rotisserie chicken and baby bella mushrooms and just like whatever's in the fridge. I always throw red pepper flakes into mine because my wife doesn't like it as spicy as I do, but it's this really nice soup base that you can just add anything to. Like you just, whatever you have in the fridge, throw it in there and you've got a decent soup.
That sounds good, man. Honestly,
we should make a cookbook. The hell of a way to cook.
I will say this, the recipe that I would share of all the ones is the one that I always ask Cynthia to make for me on my birthday, which is something she had here when she lived here before, and she found a recipe in America that was similar. And it's basically pancetta, shallots, jalapenos cooked, and mushrooms, and then you boil pasta like a curly pasta like rigatoni or fusilli, but you don't use water, you use chicken stock, and you boil it all the way down almost. And then at the end you take the mixture of meat and vegetables I've just described and stir it in with spinach and wilt the spinach in that, and then serve it. Put some Parmesan in if you want, or some Gruyere, if you want to get wild with the Swiss cheeses, get some Appenzeller or stuff like that. Yeah, man, there's all sorts of these simple things. I've been cooking so much because takeaway stuff isn't really a thing here as much. I mean, it is, but it's nowhere near as much as London, and delivery is insanely expensive. I think we've rehashed this to death before.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I've really, really enjoyed cooking again, and it's been so long. So yeah, if we don't have any, we definitely want your questions or Ask a Dad. But if you all fail to give us questions, we're just going to talk about food. How about that?
We'll put together, we'll throw some recipes together somewhere, I'm sure. Because I mean, you're always cooking. You've got I want some of your recipes. I want that oxtail that you were making based on the Chinese guy.
The guy on like TikTok or whatever.
Throwing the pan over the frozen lake and everything, and screaming at everything that he throws in.
Oh man, that was so good. Yeah, I mean it takes forever to cook, but yeah, God, someone transcribed it and translated it. Like that's kind of the internet that I love, is like this Chinese guy doing this stupid video of making this insanely delicious dish, but then throwing the lid onto the ice nonstop and like making it a big like performance. And someone's like, I'm going to transcribe it and tell you what the ingredients are so you can make it.
Exactly.
And I somehow made it in London. Yeah, man. Take that. Get all the Nazis and all that bullshit, all the fucking incels and weird fucking manfluencer guys. Get rid of them and just have that synergy we've just described. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We need our 2009 internet back. We need a place where it's just kind of a wild west. But everybody's not angry constantly. Because now it's just
you have a very different memory of 2009 internet than I do.
You know what? I don't remember 2009 internet at all because I was in Iraq, so I wasn't online very much. Period. I went from laughing at Homestar Runner, and then I went to Iraq, and I came home, and everything was terrible. So
we gotta go.
My bad.
We gotta go. But I will say this: my daughter absolutely loves turning the lights on and off. She's not tall enough to push, but Cynthia immediately makes jokes about like, no, this is for turning the lights on and off, not light switch raves.
Yeah.
Because we both grew up on Homestar Runner, so that's the level of like this is gonna be as cringy to my daughter when she's older as like it is to kids who are raised by millennials who are into fucking Harry Potter. So, but with that being said, thank you so much for being a listener. And also thank you for your patience because, we've had some great content from you and Jack, Francis, but I have been absent and I'm hoping to be less absent now that my life has settled down. But, it's been the full spectrum, moving internationally and rebuilding the routine for your daily life and doing it with a baby. Very different.
It doesn't sound fun at all. Like even my child gets her routine disrupted one bit, like from day to day, and it's just hell. So
I think my daughter is the chillest one of the three of us when it comes to routine disruption, because all she can is just pushes her little push cart around and yells at things. She can do whatever, but it's just been hard to kind of reckon like all of the things that used to be like settled and stuff you kind of had a place for, or like an idea of when and how you would do it, and then you have to kind of reinvent that in a foreign language.
Nobody's asking her to do anything though. She's just like, I just gotta, hang out. I can walk around, I can scream at things, and then when I'm hungry, I tell you. When I pee, I tell you. It's fine.
But then also randomly teeth just burst out of your head.
Yeah, sometimes your face explodes with teeth, and then they all fall out and more teeth come out. It's not fun. I wouldn't suggest the human experience to anybody, but unfortunately we all got to go through it.
Well, anyway, with that, I was just going to say that if you want to hear more of us, as Francis said, we were recording this on the 8th anniversary of this show starting, and we've had a Patreon since January 2017. So there's bonus content dating all the way back to the early days of us yelling about Trump the first time, among other things.
Everything still applies, so you don't have to go back and listen to it, but we are also always updating with more Patreon content. There's exclusive videos that go up there. I'm trying to talk to people more on there, get some of your feedback, and of course, at least 3 episodes are going up per month. So not only do you have the back catalog, but you got a whole forward catalog that's coming at you. So check that out, and also check out the store at whatahellofawaytodad.com. Nate, thank you so much for taking some time away. I know it's evening there in Switzerland, so I'm glad that you were able to peel away for a bit.
Thank you for tolerating me clearing my throat because I accidentally inhaled a little bit of very spicy sauce and onion while I was cooking, and like I literally ran from a small bowl of my dinner to this to record because I was like, nah, I've kept Francis on the line so many times not being able to record. We're doing this episode. But in case you're worried that I'm going to go on a tangent and prolong it, I can hear my daughter yelling through the door, so I gotta go.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a good one.